Hello everyone. Today we're here with Lucy from Cornwall, and you're going to tell us about what you do there in Cornwall. You're a police officer, aren't you?
No, I'm seconded to the local criminal justice board in Devon and Cornwall. I'm actually a probation member of staff, seconded across.
Okay.
Yes. In terms of kind of my role in Cornwall, are we recording now?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
In terms of my role in Cornwall, I'm operationally delivering the criminal justice, restorative justice cases with a team of trained practitioners that I manage. And that's very much kind of pre-sentence, post-sentence, diversionary work with the police. It could be historic crime, non-reported crime, but we kind of deliver the restorative justice in those cases. I'm also doing a coordinating function across Cornwall with some third sector partners, where we're referring cases to our third sector partners and working collaboratively with them on those cases. They tend to be non-crime cases, so kind of community work with schools, with health, education, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a very broad scope for restorative justice.
Okay. It's my understanding that Cornwall, in general, the institutions there that can have embraced restorative justice quite vehemently, and you have had a few early successes as well. I have heard a lot about Cornwall and good things happening there. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah. In terms of my involvement in Cornwall, I was managing the pre-sentence pathfinder in Truro Crown Court up until the end of May this year, and that came to an end. And locally, there was a real desire to see that good work continue and grow and very much develop and embed the kind of good work we'd already done. So the local criminal justice board and the Police and Crime Commissioner's office and the community safety partnerships are kind of a three-way partnership there with the statutory organisations, agreed to fund and support these developments. The pre-sentence work is still continuing with both magistrates' courts and the Crown Court in Truro, but also we're now working post-sentence, so I'm working very closely with the CRC, the MPS and our local prisons on post-sentence cases for people that are currently serving their sentence, and also on release and kind of post-sentence from there on in. Also doing a lot of work with the police. The police have got a new victims care unit in Devon and Cornwall, and we're working very closely with the police to get the police to make the offer of restorative justice at lots of different points in kind of the victim's journey through the system. So we're taking referrals from a kind of broad source, and we've got a lot of kind of statutory agency support for the work we're doing. Equally, there has been and still is a lot of support for this kind of wider offer of restorative justice to all people in Cornwall, and hence why we've kind of brought our third sector partners in as well, and also to increase our sustainability there with our third sector partners kind of coming on board.
Okay, so what's the big idea about Cornwall? Because every new service that is set up, you're doing it in a slightly different way. At the moment, there is no specific format for all to take. So people are choosing different things that agree best with local communities and how things are organized there. Can you tell us a bit more about how you organize? You involve a lot of third-party sectors, third sector parties. So can you tell us a bit more about how you organize and how it works? And also, what's your relationship with the police? Because you mentioned that you get referrals from them, but also from some other organisations.
Yeah. In terms of kind of our involvement with the third sector, in Cornwall, we were very much given kind of the funding to develop this work, but to do it very much from the ground up. And there was a real desire to involve some of these third sector organisations, and some of them have worked in the restorative justice field for a while. Some of them are quite new to it, but shown an interest. And there was a real desire locally in Cornwall to kind of develop these organisations and upskill them to be in a position to deliver restorative justice. I chair a providers group. I've been through a whole kind of due diligence process with these providers. We've gone through training with the providers, and we also have a kind of tariff basis that we pay the providers on. So there's been a substantial amount of work to get to this point where we're now actually referring cases to these service providers, and now we're learning as we go along in terms of this process, if you will. In terms of referrals from the police, I sit within a kind of police environment, which does kind of get over some of the barriers, and I've officially seconded to the police to do this work. So that kind of gets over information sharing as well, which is always a big hurdle.
Yes.
And I've been working very closely with our police restorative justice lead on these kind of key points where the victim could be offered restorative justice, and then that offer being made in such a way that opens doors as opposed to closes doors for victims. Very much kind of, would you like to speak to somebody about this opportunity, as opposed to, you don't want to meet the person who just burgled your house, do you? Kind of, it's the way that question's framed, and that's really important. So we've been doing quite a lot of work around that with the police, and we're starting to see referrals coming through now. There is still a bit of work to be done around kind of what is a community resolution and what is restorative justice, and the differences there between the two. And that is a slow process, but it's starting, because it's a culture change within Devon and Cornwall Police, but it is starting to happen now, and key people at the top are kind of filtering that down. So, and we're also trying to go from the ground up and kind of change people's ideas around restorative justice. So, yeah.
Well, Cornwall is typically seen, it's my impression, as a very open-minded community, an area in the UK. Can you tell us that the perception of the public, people, not necessarily just victims, people in general, how they see restorative justice, or whether they're enthusiastic about it?
I think generally people see it as a very good idea. It's one where the benefits of restorative justice are recognised, and that the victim gets the opportunity to have a voice, especially if it's going through the criminal justice system, a voice in the actual system itself, and a chance to ask the questions that they want to ask, and sometimes very specific questions, as you know. I think there's a lot of work to be done around promoting restorative justice and around what restorative justice is. Obviously, this week's National Restorative Justice Week, we're doing a lot of PR work and trying to really promote, this is what restorative justice is, get involved. If you've been a victim, or indeed if you've been an offender or a harmer or been harmed, to get in touch with us and find out a little bit more. I think there's a long way to go before it ends up being kind of in people's minds. But yeah, we've had some good feedback. As I say, we're doing quite a lot of social media work and kind of PR this week, and we have had quite a lot of the public engage with us to find out more, which is a really good sign that they want to know what it is.
Well, that's absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
You said to me before that you have your own team as well. Are they volunteers, or are they?
Yeah, no, I've got a team of 12 volunteers now. Some of them have been with me now for 2.5 years. They started with me at the very beginning of the Pathfinder in Truro Crown Court, and they've stayed. So very experienced now, managed a number of conferences, and some of them are quite relatively new that we recruited in June time when we expanded kind of the wider RJ work. So yeah, real mix. They're good.
So how do you find working with and managing volunteers?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really, really good team, really positive. I can't sing their praises enough. They come from lots of different walks of life, which is brilliant, because their skills and their experience, their life experience that they bring to this is so valuable. And working with victims and offenders who equally come from all different walks of life, then yeah, they've got a lot to give, a lot to offer. And sometimes with this work, especially when we first go out and meet with victims, some people are a little bit suspicious as to what's on offer and why are you coming and telling me all this. And sometimes when it's a volunteer going out and the people actually understand that this person's just doing it, there's no ulterior motive, there's no agenda.
It's not their job.
Yeah.
They're doing it because they feel that it's a good thing.
Yeah, and they believe in it, they're passionate about it. That can really help sometimes kind of build those relationships and start to form those relationships. Yeah, very good.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. And what last question, I'm not going to take any more of your time. What do you think about the future? What do you expect to happen in the future in Cornwall in terms of restorative justice?
I'd like to think that the work that we're doing at the moment will continue to grow and develop, and we can expand to a whole broader areas and really kind of promote this to a point where it becomes just a way of what happens. It's not an add-on, it's not an exception to have restorative justice. It's part of a process that it's offered to you and that you have the opportunity to take part should you want to, not only in criminal justice but in all different kind of areas and walks of life. That's what I'd hope. I'd hope that many more third sector organisations get involved with us and kind of train up and become restorative in how they approach their work, etc. But we'll see. Underlying all this, obviously, we do have the comprehensive spending review next week,
yes.
So there are going to be cuts and they're going to hurt. So watch your space.
Yeah, well, let's hope that this thing, because in actual fact it is a money-saving process. The money that you spend in restorative justice schemes is actually more than recouped from the fewer interventions that are needed for victims and also for offenders.
Yeah.
So let's hope that our politicians realise that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Lucy, and I hope that you share with us any stories that you have and you post them on the Restorative Forum, and then we can hear how it's going over there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.